Hebrews chapter 3 shows us there are two types of people, those who will enter God's rest and those who will not. We also find just how those who fail to enter God's rest earn that state. We'll begin reading in verse 7. Therefore, as the Holy Spirit says, today, if you will hear his voice, do not harden your hearts as in the rebellion, in a day of trial in the wilderness, where your fathers tested me, tried me, and saw my works 40 years. Therefore, I was angry with that generation, and said, they always go astray in their heart, and they have not known my ways. So I swore in my wrath, they shall not enter my rest. We as children of God know that also, as those who were led out by Moses, we too can rebel against God if we choose to. However, as hindsight is 20/20, we also know what awaits us. Could you believe the nerve of those following Moses? They saw the plagues. They saw the sea separating right and left so they could walk on dry land. But as soon as things got tough, they wished to return to the Egyptians, undoing all the good that God and Moses tried to do for them. Beware, brethren, lest there be in any of you an evil heart of unbelief in departing from the living God. But exhort one another daily while it is called today, lest any of you be hardened through the deceitfulness of sin. For we have become partakers of Christ if we hold the beginning of our confidence steadfast to the end, while it is said, today, if you will hear his voice, do not harden your hearts, as in the rebellion. This passage in Hebrew 3 warns, and rightfully so, that we can depart from the living God. But if we do so, we lose our salvation or rest when this life is over. Not only must we watch out for ourselves, but those in the household of God as well. We do not have Moses as they did, but we do have something better. We have God's holy word, and the best defense against deceit is, as Jesus said, it is written. We must realize where our salvation comes from and live lives accordingly, steadfast until the end. Now there is a command for us. We must hear his voice and remain open and receptive to it. After all, starting in verse 16, we find that just hearing isn't enough. For who, having heard, believed? Indeed, was it not all who came out of Egypt, led by Moses? Now with whom was he angry 40 years? Was it not with those who sinned, whose corpses fell in the wilderness? And to whom did he swear that they will not enter his rest, but to those who did not obey? So we see that they could not enter in because of unbelief. This is the finality of life. All will cease, from this life at least. I guess, in that regard, all will rest physically, but that's not the end of it. If we rebel, as those did, our state would be like those who fell in the wilderness. But worse than that, we incur God's wrath. A wrath from which there will be no rest once we die. So once again, there are two types of people, those who obey and those who will not obey. So I'll ask you, which will you be? We learn that not all died during that 40-year period. Those who remained faithful did enter that promised rest. Everyone else, however, as Matthew 7 states, enter by the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is a way that leads to destruction. And there are many who will go in by it, because narrow is a gate and difficult is a way which leads to life, and there are few who find it.